Hello, I'm Roger Veer. Currently, I'm the CEO of Bitcoin.com, but even more interesting than that, I was the first person in the entire world to start investing in Bitcoin-related startups. I've been involved in Bitcoin since 2011 for more than 7 years, nonstop. My full-time job has been promoting Bitcoin use around the world. And I want to talk a little bit today about the changes I've watched happen in the Bitcoin ecosystem over that time, specifically in regards to the censorship that took place in the Bitcoin community. When I first got involved in Bitcoin in 2011, everybody wanted to know, can Bitcoin scale for everyone all over the entire world to use it? And it was right there on bitcoin.org. They had their own wiki page, and they gave all the math, how Bitcoin could scale on-chain for the entire world to use Bitcoin. And after reading about that for the first time, when Bitcoins were less than $1 each, I was convinced, yeah, this can scale. This can become money for the entire world to use. And then much later, a bunch of people who came to Bitcoin later enacted all sorts of policies of censorship, where they would literally and actively delete anybody's post that was in favor of the original Bitcoin roadmap. If your posts were not in favor of things called segregated witness, or SegWit for short, or something called Lightning Network, your post would be deleted. You literally would have your post deleted from bitcointalk.org and from our Bitcoin on Reddit. These are two of the most popular discussion platforms in the entire world for Bitcoin-related things. And my mistake when that happened was to underestimate just how big of an effect that would have on the community, because, well, everybody at the time knew that Bitcoin could scale and that these people that were engaging in censorship were a bunch of liars or nutcases or people, intentional bad actors trying to cause trouble for Bitcoin, because of course Bitcoin can scale for the whole world. But I've included a video here that we're going to watch next that shows exactly what sort of an effect the censorship had on the community. So let's take just a short moment and watch that and think about how it relates to the current Bitcoin ecosystem we have and all the censorship that's been going on within it, as well as the sock puppeting and fake accounts that are advocating these things called SegWit and Lightning Network, and attacking anybody who's in favor of the original game plan for Bitcoin that you can find on the Internet Archive Wayback Machine. If you go to bitcoin.org and look at the screenshot or the captures of the website from back in 2011 or 2012 or I think even 2013, you can find the exact information as to how Bitcoin was going to scale on-chain and for the entire world to use as money. So anyhow, take a moment and watch this video, and then we'll have a couple more thoughts on it. Thank you.
To answer that question, we set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking you'd never go along with this. Or would you? After just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away?
Elaine, please.
Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
For a noon appointment.
Have a seat, and they'll be out in just a couple minutes.
Great,
thanks so much.
Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do? We kept the cameras rolling as more unsuspecting patients arrived. And slowly but surely, what began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room. Here to explain what's going on in their brains is Jonah Berger of the University of Pennsylvania.
This sort of internalized form of herd behavior is part of what we call social learning. Starting at a very early age, when we see members of our group perform a task, our brains literally reward us for following in their footsteps.
When I saw everybody stand up, I felt like I needed to join them. Otherwise, I'm like excluded. Once I decided to go with it, then I felt much more comfortable.
Conformity is how we become socialized, but it can also cause us to develop bad habits or repeat past wrongs.
And it's why even this rebel, who wasn't standing for any of this nonsense, eventually joined the ranks. And the only thing more shocking than seeing how easily conformity affects the way you act is that similar forces are subconsciously shaping the way you think right now.
And there you have it. That's exactly what's happening within the Bitcoin ecosystem. These subconscious forces now have kind of taken over the whole thing. So it's, if you look at that video, the girl was the people that were kind of new to Bitcoin and came along after the censorship had already started. And you have all these sock puppets that are standing up and cheering for SegWit and Lightning Network. And maybe they're great. The thing that I have the really, really, really big problem with is the whole idea that Bitcoin can't scale on chain for the whole world to use. Of course it can. The math is right there. It was on the original website from day one. Yet all these people, through the censorship, all the people that knew that were silenced. They couldn't hear that. And only accounts that said Bitcoin can't scale on chain were allowed to be heard. So then all these new people to Bitcoin came and they heard that, and they heard Lightning Network, SegWit, Lightning Network, SegWit. And it's just, they repeat it because that's what they heard all the way around them, just like we saw the girl in the video stood up every time the bell rang because she had no idea why, but everybody else was doing it, so she did it too. And if you don't believe me that people would support Lightning Network and SegWit when they have no idea what they are, watch this short clip.
Someone says, oh, good question for you, Jimmy. What benefit do I get from setting up my own Lightning node?
You can go and pay people, like in Lightning. So you can, there aren't that many things for sale.
Well, wait a minute. Hey, I need clarification on that, right? Do I need to have a Lightning node in order to pay people through Lightning?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, because the only way you can pay anyone is by having a channel, and you can't have a channel unless you have a node.
But do you need your own node, or you can use someone else's?
You need your own node. And you can connect to somebody else's node, and that can be sort of your main conduit to the entire network. But you need your own node.
Oh, wow. So every single person might actually need a Lightning node.
Yeah, that's, and, you know, a Lightning wallet is basically going to set up a node for you and then, you know, manage your keys.
But are those, okay, so if I get a Lightning wallet, do I actually have my own node, or is it like an SPV kind of thing and I'm sharing that node?
I believe it's your own node. I don't know. I haven't played with Lightning wallets, but most likely it's your own node.
Sure. So we're going to have infinite number of Lightning nodes.
A lot of them. The nice thing is nobody needs to know about other nodes, right? Like you only need to know about nodes that you're connected to and the ones that you're paying to or receiving.
And this is technologically a good thing?
Yeah, because I mean, it's not, Bitcoin. You have to, whenever you send a transaction, everyone needs to know about it. And you know, if it's going to get into the blockchain, with Lightning, you only need to send it to the people that need to know. That's why it enhances privacy. It's only on a need-to-know basis.
All right, very cool. All right, I think on that note, we will call it a day.
There's a real-world example of somebody who's been completely brainwashed, and they're busy advocating something they don't even understand, and opposing something that was the original roadmap for Bitcoin from day one, because it can scale for the entire world. So the reason I'm making this video tonight is to help get the word out, despite the censorship, and let people know that Bitcoin can scale for the entire world to use on-chain, as outlined on the original website and in the original white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto, which isn't some holy grail, but it makes sense. Use your mind and think for yourself. It makes sense. And so that version of Bitcoin is still alive and well in the form of Bitcoin Cash. And that's why myself and Bitcoin.com were busy supporting Bitcoin Cash, which in my book is the same version of Bitcoin I've been supporting from day one. I wish the Bitcoin Core supporters, I wish them well when it comes to their second layer solutions like Lightning Network and that sort of thing. But it's worth noting that all those things will work faster, better, and cheaper on top of Bitcoin Cash anyhow. And if you achieved your goals through a bunch of censorship and propaganda, I don't think that that's very commendable or respectable or no. I guess I don't have good things to say about people that are engaged in censorship and propaganda, and that's exactly what we've had happening within the Bitcoin City ecosystem. So I just wanted to point out to everybody just how incredibly influential sock puppeting and propaganda and censorship has been within the Bitcoin community, because now all of these people that came to Bitcoin after the censorship began, they were only allowed to hear that SegWit and Lightning Network is fantastic, Bitcoin Core is wonderful, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's not true. But just like we saw in the video, people, at the end of the video, not a single person in that room knew why they were standing up when the bell was going off. Yet they were all still standing up for it. And that's what we've seen happen with Bitcoin, and this blind support from the masses for, Segregated Witness and Lightning Network, and their blind hatred for anybody that supports Bitcoin Cash or supports the original version of Bitcoin, which was allowing it to scale for the entire world to use as money. And these brainwashed people now openly mock anybody that says that Bitcoin should be usable as cash to buy things like coffee. So it's really, really sad, but that's the world that we live in. And all we can do is do our best to speak out and tell everybody the truth every chance we have, regardless of the attacks on social media that you may receive because of it, because the truth is more important than being popular. Thank you for your time.